And hello, everyone, and welcome to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I am your host, Coach Elix. With me, my wonderful co-host. He happens to be an attorney. He's also a very handsome man and a medium. Welcome. Are you there?
Yeah, of course I'm here. I just keep going.
Yeah. Well, tell them who you are.
No, I love what you're saying. Keep going. There's nothing else.
I mean, there's plenty more I can say, but I'm going to stop there.
Hello, everybody. And I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, and he is Steven. For those of you who do not know him, you should, but if you don't, he's Steven the Medium.
Yeah, sometimes I take a lodge. Just saying.
Oh, my goodness. So, how are you, Steven?
Well, everything is well. It's, as people that tune in Wednesdays, you know that I didn't do my show because we went to a wake. A friend of mine that I've known forever, Jackie, her mom passed away. So Wednesday, the wake was 4 to 7. So Elix very nicely accompanied me. Plus, you know Jackie very well, and she loves you. So it was actually, being from Rhode Island, it was a funeral home that I had never been to, which is kind of surprising, but I never had been there.
Why is that surprising? I mean, there's hundreds of funeral homes. And why would that be surprising? Like, it would be surprising if you've been to everyone.
Listen, that's my state, right? I know everything about my state, Rhode Island. I love my state of Rhode Island. And it's just over the years of, people dying, and I've been to a lot of funerals and a lot of different funeral homes. It just so happens that I've never been to this one, but, putting aside the sadness that Jackie's mom passed away, and I was so glad that we got to go to the wake.
Yes.
But then also we got to find a restaurant that we had never been to in Smithfield, which was cool.
Which is a lot of fun because that's one of the things. It actually brought memories of the times that we would go to Rhode Island for the weekend to spend time with your mom. And that's what we would do. We just hit the road and go, and no plans. And wherever we thought, we found a good place, we would stop and try it. So
every weekend, and there were times that, like you said, Elix, nothing was planned, and we head down, and then a couple of hours later we're in Old Orchard Beach. A couple of hours later we're in Vermont. You never knew where we were going to show up.
Mm-hmm. And it was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it was. So I did miss doing my show though.
I'm sure. And by the way, so Jackie, if you're listening, we're very, very sorry for your loss, and we continue to hold you and your family in light and prayer.
Yes, that's a beautiful message to Jackie. And her mother was a very, very sweet soul, definitely. Very, very sweet soul. And like in 2 weeks, I will be celebrating my 4th year of doing my Through the Static radio show.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And that means that Mark, our producer, who has his own radio show on Wednesdays at 3, Jukebox. Aren't you impressed that
you got it. Mark's Jukebox.
Yes. I know. He's also celebrating 4 years because you guys started at the same time.
Well, he started a week before me.
Well, so he'll be celebrating a week before you. 4 years.
Exactly, but he's just part of this team. So it's just all just one, right? I mean,
and when you say he's part of this team, I know what you're talking about, baby.
Yeah, especially when he wears that tie-dye shirt.
Oh, dear God, please, let's stay away from that subject. But, Stephen, I wanted to, last weekend my cousin came here from Puerto Rico. She's actually moving here because she got a job here in Massachusetts. But, so anyways.
New Hampshire.
I think her job is in Massachusetts. She's going to be living
in New Hampshire. That's what I mean.
But anyways, she spent the weekend with us, and we got to do some pretty awesome things with her. And one of the things that I was most fascinated about was, for the first time ever, we went to this Indian powwow. I heard about a powwow, but I never knew what a powwow is, and I mean, for me personally, Puerto Ricans is it's really a mix of African, Spaniards, or Europeans and Indians from the Caribbean, and it was fascinating to be there, and I got to meet the tribe from the Caribbean that was part of what makes the Puerto Rican culture, if you will.
Boricua.
Boricua, yeah. So it was just fascinating, and I know it was fascinating for you as well, wasn't it?
Yes, on a spirit level, I knew that there was going to be energy was going to just be like just unbelievable, just crazy energy. But it was, I mean, I don't have enough time. Maybe next Wednesday I'll share that on my show. I don't have enough time to get into it, but the experience was astounding. It just was with the feeling, that culture, the Native Americans that had already died, and seeing them dancing even though they were in spirit, and it was just amazing. It was, yeah, I had never been to a powwow either, and I thought that experience was just an amazing experience.
And these were tribes from all over the country. So they gathered together here for a long weekend, right? And so it was just so incredible, fascinating to just learn about something that, of course, in school we learned about, our Indian culture, but I never experienced something like that in person. And I know my cousin didn't either. So it was, I would put that in the category experience of a lifetime.
Yeah, I think so. When you said gather, it reminds me of we gather together to.
Oh, God. Oh my God. Move along.
I don't
Eddie.
even listen. I was private grammar school, high school, all Catholic private schools, and I don't even remember the song. We gather together to do something, Lord's blessings. I don't even remember it. Not that I'm practicing Catholic anymore, but when you said that, it brought back some cool memories of just hearing that.
Okay, so can we talk about the more important stuff? Like, you are also going to be participating in yet another screening premiere of the Lady of the Dunes documentary coming up July 26th, right?
Yes.
So tell people what that's about.
So this is a documentary by Frank Durant, who directed it and produced it, and is just become one of our best friends. We love Frank. And it's the first documentary that I'm premiered in. And I got to tell you, when you get to see it, you're going to be very, very impressed with Stephen the Medium, just saying. It's not sent to distribution yet to whatever media Frank is picking, but there were two premieres in April and then a week premiere in one of the cinemas, but from April now there's been nothing. So the 26th is so huge because it also is the anniversary of when the Lady of the Dunes, and the documentary is just about this woman in 1974 that was found in P-Town and Race Point Dunes. Her body was found dead, and up until this point it's the oldest unsolved crime in Massachusetts, and she's still not identified, as well as neither is the killer. So the documentary is all about this, and the 26th is the day in 1974 that she was found. So it's an anniversary. It's going to be one showing at 7 p.m. I shall be the medium there doing questions and answers. So I'm really, really excited. Frank will be there. Christopher
Sutherland
will also be there, who's an amazing guy too, because he is writing the book Lady of the Dunes, so he'll be there too. And I can't wait to get to do this again. I did a Q&A last time in April, so I get to do this, and I think it's the last time it's going to be in a cinema, and then it's going to go to distribution. So once Frank tells me exactly where it's going, then I can tell you where to see it, where you can get it, and I can't wait for the public, more so than just sitting in the cinema, get to see this, because the whole documentary is pretty amazing. And again, the experience was, well, you were along every step of the way with me. You came to P Town overnight when I was doing all my filming, and Elix, you were there every step of the way.
Yeah, it is a fascinating documentary. It keeps you at the edge of the seat. If you're not from Massachusetts and you Google Lady of the Dunes, most of what you see online, it's actually made up. It's not necessarily factual. So the documentary really brings light to the real story behind the Lady of the Dunes. And again, if you're in Massachusetts and you want to take a trip to Provincetown, that's your opportunity to take the trip, see the documentary, meet Steven. If you're not in Massachusetts, well, tough luck. You're gonna have to wait till the documentary is released, and we'll keep you posted.
No, no way, man. You get on a plane or a train or a bus, and you just get to P Town.
Do whatever you need to do
exactly.
to
You just
see us.
wasn't there a commercial or a song? There's a song like "I'll do whatever, swim the ocean" or.
Okay, moving along. Let's talk about our own TV series, Steelix. We have episode 3 now showing on Stephen the Medium's YouTube. If you have not watched any of these episodes, you definitely want to go to Stephen the Medium YouTube, subscribe so that you can be part of, what we're doing, what we're up to.
Hit that bell.
Hit the bell because their episodes are designed to bring a lot of laughter, fun, reading, spirit, and really give you an insight into what our life looks like. And I would say it's a lot of fun.
You know what? It's
being behind the scenes, wouldn't you say?
And yes, and the episodes are just fabulous. They are, and some big news too that both of us just just hired a PR firm to help both of us with our businesses, and
that's right.
They are phenomenal. I had my first meeting with them today. You already had yours, Elix, and I cannot wait to see where this goes.
So shout out to Vicky and Shannon. I'll
Yay.
know if you guys are listening because you'll mention it. If you don't mention it, I know you're not listening, and we'll have a conversation about that next week. But anyway, Stephen, I wanna, today we have a really awesome show. It's really about optimizing your human potential and living the life of your dreams. The guest is my friend, really my friend first and foremost. I've met John several years ago at the Institute of Coaching, a Harvard affiliate, at one of our retreats. He's a fellow like me, and we became really good friends. And, really, we're going to just take a look at how the unique and often fear experience of unexpected tragedy, such as the throat cancer diagnosis that afflicted John very recently, can lead to amazing outcomes. And you're gonna learn. John will share with you, a system of how to optimize your potential. Again, even when you're dealing with something unexpected as a throat cancer diagnosis. So really, he's an amazing human, an amazing professional, an amazing guy. So you want us to stay tuned. Because when we come back, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have my friend John Lazar join the conversation. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. Happy Friday. I am your host, Coach Elix, and with me, my wonderful, very handsome co host. He's an attorney by day and a medium all the time. Stephen, are you there?
Stephen Frederick is here.
Stephen the medium is with me, and for the next hour, you're going to have Steelix. And today we have my friend John Lazar. And we are going to have a conversation about optimizing your human potential and really living the life of your dreams. So let me tell you a little bit about John. John Lazar has been a coach and a performance improvement consultant since 1983 and a leadership executive coach to CEOs, executives, and senior management since 1995. Through his customized and configured blended solutions, individual leaders and their teams develop effective leadership and management practices, improve their communications and coordination of actions, develop and align their teams, and produce sustainable breakthrough results. In March of this year, John was diagnosed with throat cancer, and he will share with us how his attitude and perspective during this phase of his life has led to self-leadership necessary to make an effective and satisfying learning field journey. And my goodness, if that doesn't get you to really hold on to your seat and listen for the next hour, then I don't know what is. So my friend John, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Coach Helix, how nice to be with you and Stephen. I hear Stephen is sometimes a large. Is that true?
I don't know, Stephen, are you?
Mostly a medium and sometimes a large.
I think
that's the rumor on the street.
He may argue differently. So so John, take a moment to share your journey with us.
Sure. I'm thinking that you're asking about my cancer diagnosis. Is that the story and the journey to share?
Well, I think that is a significant part of the story. So why don't you start there and how that diagnosis has led you to really reinvent how you see life?
Well, let me thank you for the opportunity, Helix. Let me actually give a teeny bit of background in support of what you already shared. So I've been, and then it'll provide a little bit of context for the piece around more recently. So I've been, trained for many years to support people in becoming the best that they can be. When I was younger, given my training, my education in clinical psychology, I worked with severely profoundly handicapped kids and their families. I had a psychotherapy practice and changed careers, as you say, in 1983 because I wanted to have a larger impact. But the orientation has always been about making a difference and supporting people to get out of their own way, to align themselves with their higher purpose, with what they're up to, and to be able to move forward in life. So that's at a really top line kind of a level. That's who I've been and how I've been attempting to play. Along the way, I've had lots of opportunities to learn different things from different folks in different disciplines, and I consider myself very lucky in terms of the master performers that I had a chance to work with and learn from, and hopefully bring some of what I learned into the work that I did with my clients. And in truth, the nature of the work that I do, even though as I'm describing it, it's other focused, between you and me and whoever happens to be listening, perhaps first and foremost, I'm doing that to work on myself and to heal myself. And I find that is often the case with people in the helping professions, is that there's a piece or more than a piece that is dedicated to healing and growing oneself. So I've taken those opportunities, those learning opportunities, to see, like, what could I apply to me to make myself whole. And so I've been on that journey for a lot of my life, 5-6 decades. And it became even more relevant to me recently in March of this year when I went to the doctor because I had noticed some lumps in my neck that seemed not what I had felt before. Didn't seem to be any reason for them to be there, so I went to an otolaryngologist, and I said, well, maybe it's an infection. So got antibiotics for 10 days. My sinus infection cleared up. The lumps remained. So I said, So did a needle biopsy. Needle biopsy came back highly suspicious of squamous cell carcinoma. So that brought an crap response. Obviously, wasn't what I was.
I can only imagine. Yes.
That was certainly on my radar. That was, that's what I was hoping for Christmas. And then, so you test further and do an MRI, do a CT scan, do a chest X-ray, and the diagnosis is confirmed. And now this is something not hypothetical but real. And there's things for me to do to take care of that. And in truth, I don't know a lot of all of what there is to do, but I sure as heck need to find out sooner than later.
And John, let me ask you this though, because you talk about for years, for decades, you were very clear as to what it is, this deep commitment that you had to be for others, right, to make an impact in others' lives, and then all of a sudden you get these wrench thrown at you, and now you are dealing with something that is unexpected. How did that shift, that commitment? Did you have to recenter? Did you have to sort of pause and decide, where do I go from here?
It did not shift my commitment, but it did shift how I configured that commitment.
Say more about that.
Sure. So, not surprisingly, as I began to learn more about what this condition was, and began to put together a medical team to help me deal with this, it became apparent that since I was taking this seriously, I needed to make my self-care and my recovery job one. Right? So that wasn't on my radar before, or it certainly wasn't, or self-care wasn't on my radar to the degree that became necessitated by this new condition that I discovered.
And John, why do you think self-care is so important, and what have you learned, about self-care given that your diagnosis?
I think self-care is important for all of us, regardless of whether you got a diagnosis. I think all of us know firsthand or secondhand of caregivers who put all of their attention on a family member or a friend, or it's part of their job, they've got all of their attention and their energy focused over there, they burn themselves out.
Yeah.
And now they're not able to take care of the other person, and they're not able to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
We have firsthand experience quite broadly with medical caregivers, nurses, and doctors, given the pandemic, and what a challenge it's been when you put all of your attention on your patients and none of your attention on yourself and your family. Mm. And so I can't speak for what's the balance of this, or what's the blend of this, or what's the integration of this. Like, where's that set point? All I can say is that, at least for me, but I don't think it's just for me, I think there's something to acknowledge in the reality of what self-care makes available, and the public service announcement for that is the piece that we hear on the airlines all the time. Put your own mask on first.
Yes. I was just about to say that.
So and why is that? Because when we put our own mask on first, then we're better able to take care of those around us.
That's so
it's
good.
It's always been there, but it was really driven home that there was likely to be a non-trivial consequence if I didn't take that to heart. If I wasn't intentionally organizing myself around my self-care, and was also including care of others.
Yeah. And I would even argue, and you and I have many conversations about this, that brings into the question your own foundational integrity, because
right.
If you're not really owning, if you're not honoring what it is that you say you're committed for others, if you're not honoring that for yourself, then then what, right? You got a foundation that's filled with all kinds of gaps. Yeah,
that's right.
Exactly.
I can't be in integrity with and for others if I'm not living that life myself. I need to be modeling that.
Absolutely. Walking the talk. John, we got to take a break. Hold it, hang in there. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. And I know Stephen wants to jump in with a question, so we'll be right back.
Sure.
And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I am your host, Coach Elix. With me, my very handsome co-host, husband, attorney,
Medium Steven is here.
or large, according to John Lazar, who happens to be my guest today. We're talking about optimizing your human potential, living the life that you dream of. And John is a friend. He's a fellow with the Institute of Coaching, a colleague of mine, and a coach and a performance improvement consultant. And in March of this year, John was diagnosed with throat cancer. And this conversation is about how that diagnosis, in spite of that diagnosis, he has really created a way to optimize his own human potential, and he is living the life that he always wanted to. So, John, welcome back. How are you?
Thanks. I'm doing great. It's so surprising to me to hear myself say, given the condition that I'm in and the treatment that I'm in the midst of, I'm great. But that's what's so, and so it's for me, it's an eye-opening kind of a circumstance to go, hey, this too is what life looks like when things are perfect.
Yeah.
Go figure.
And John, words create our reality, and Stephen and I that's one thing that, well, among many other things that we walk the talk when it comes to that. Stephen, I know you have a question for John. Go ahead.
Well, John, I just want to firstly say, when the show started and you started saying you were hearing I was a lodge, I was engaging with you and didn't realize I was on mute. And I just said to Elix on break, I can pass the bar the first try, but I can't remember to unmute myself. So I love the joke, and I said, depends on the season, depends on whether I'm a medium or a lodge. So I was listening, and I was laughing by myself thinking you could hear me. But in any case, John, I'm so great to get to meet you via this radio show, and Elix has told me so much about you, and I feel such positive energy coming from you. And I was just when you were explaining, everything that's going on with you and just the greatness surrounding you, how do you get affected, John, that when you experience something like this and get the diagnosis, sharing that with your loved ones? I know Elix just talked about, foundational integrity. I mean, does it play in at all to, like, maybe I shouldn't tell my loved ones the full scope of the details? Or how does that, because you're under enough stress right now hearing that, and then you also have to share that with your loved ones, which I can't imagine is easy.
Great question. I actually went through like a sorting process for myself, because the question did arise, because whether it's with my loved ones, whether it's with my clients, I could anticipate that my life was going to be very different as a result of what things that I couldn't even imagine in terms of like what my treatment was going to be, what the side effects were going to be, and so on and so forth. And what I was looking to sort out for myself, and it was very much inside of operating with integrity, was like, what is the more integral path forward? And I very quickly came to the conclusion that it was to speak up and say, and to, like, the truth is enough.
Wow.
To say that this is what's out, and to not, there's nothing to embellish. There's nothing to dramatize. The truth is the truth. I don't have to create a story about it. But what I was unwilling to do, and I continue to stand 100% behind that decision, is I have no desire to feel like I have to contort myself in telling a story about what's going on with me.
What is that? What does that mean, John? Like,
in other words, like to tell half truths.
Oh, okay.
Right? to not talk about what's going on if it's what's going on and it's what's relevant. So for me, it was like to speak to say this is what's going on, and I trust you enough to be able to share that with you, and I don't have any requests of you around this, or I do, and this is what my request is, and just to allow it to be, and to allow me to be unembellished in present and open and connected, and looking to bring my best self to the situation.
I can't imagine, John, how many people this is going to just help. Listen to this live station and also the recording. Someone who is either going through something similar, or the spouse of someone who's going through something similar. What you just said is I think is going to impact a lot of people in such a great way, John.
Yeah, I love, John, that one part about telling half truths, because I think many of us, that's what we do. We tell half truths because we want to comfort somebody else. We want to make somebody else, we don't want them to feel uncomfortable. But often those half truths come at our own expense. And what I hear you say is that you're unwilling to compromise that for yourself and for them,
and for others. I think there's a cost for everybody in dissembling that way, even with the best of intentions. Now, I gotta say, and I appreciate what you guys are saying. That was my personal choice, and I don't assume or presume that what I did and how I did it is necessarily what would work best or be best for you, given somebody else and their particular circumstance. But I know for myself, it's what has allowed me to. There are three guidelines that are at the heart of what I'm using to operate from, that seem to be extraordinarily serviceable so far. One of them I already mentioned, which is the truth is enough. Mm-hmm. A second one is manage what matters. Manage what matters. And each of us as an observer in our own life, we have to figure out what the heck that is for ourselves. And the third one is manage with grace. Mm. And so these are 3 of the 10 guiding principles that my colleague Joe Slater developed in doing his collaborative work with his company, Better Practice. But they're the ones that continue to source me. Mm. So it's a really simple, really nice shorthand for translating, John, keep your eye on the ball, for translating that into operational terms.
That's great, John, and I appreciate what you shared, that just because this is what you've chosen, it's not necessarily the only choice. And I tell people that all the time. Anything I talk about, there's no absolutes in what I share. It's just what works for me, and one of many ways. And if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. If you have something else that works better for you, that's totally okay. That's a choice that you have. Absolutely. So I really appreciate that. And I will also tell you, Stephen, that's one of the many things that I have learned from Stephen, to never ever compromise with half truths because it's better for somebody else, ever. So I'm learning. Stephen, anything else?
We're all works in progress, right? Mm-hmm. So the thing is, the thing that I would encourage anybody is to because again, it has nothing to do with like cancer. It has to do with we're all on a journey, and we're all trying to make sense of things as best we can. We're all trying to lead a good life. We're all trying to navigate our world as best we can, and I think we need to give ourselves permission to do the work that we need to do to understand what's going on and to make as wise and informed decisions as we can, rather than simply be on automatic and act as if that's going to be sufficient for the circumstance that we find ourselves in.
Fabulous. Stephen, anything else?
Yeah, just this. I think it's on the same token of what you're saying, John, is that when I do readings, or if I'm even in the legal capacity, I just always try to remember and share with people in appropriate places or experiences that your universe is connected with you, and as you said, John, we're all on this life path, and our life is working for life is meant for us, right? Your life is meant for you, and that
Yes.
in the bigger picture, you have to always remember. And I always say in my classes that trust life. Life may not be likable sometimes, but if you always remember underneath that underlying toe is working in the bigger picture for you, and it's going to bring you exactly where you need to be. I think if you keep that in your head, it's just something that will always help you in making your decisions and to get where you want to go.
I love that. It reminds me of two things. Can I tell a quick story?
Well, John, you know what? Let's take a break. We are due for a break. So hold on. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll get to your two stories. We'll be right back.
Sounds like a plan.
And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix, and with me, of course, my wonderful co-host, attorney, medium, and of course, best and most importantly, my husband,
Steven is here.
Stephen the Medium is in the house, and today we have a very, very special guest, my friend John Lazar, who is sharing his experience after being diagnosed with throat cancer and how he's used that challenge, that experience to really optimize his human potential, and in spite the circumstances, he is living the life that he wants, the life of his dreams. So John, welcome back. John, before the break, I know you wanted to share a couple of stories, so go ahead.
Thank you. I think in the introduction, one of the things you said, one of the things I said was wanting to make a difference for people.
Yes.
But, historically it raises the question, well, where the heck did that come from? And a long time ago, I was in the Navy. I was in the Navy during the Vietnam War era. And I was stationed in Key West, Florida. And not a terribly happy camper being in the service, though it was of my own hand. And I met a civilian, a guy about 40 years older than me, guy by the name of Lyle, and he befriended me. And he befriended me at a time when I was not a good friend to myself. And as I thought about it, it made such a profound difference for me that Lyle had taken a genuine interest in me, and we became true friends. That as my discharge date approached, I made a decision and a private declaration to myself that when I got out of the service, I was going to go back to school and complete a degree and do something with my life where I could make a difference for others the way that Lyle had made for me. And I've been living inside of that declaration for more than 50 years. So that's where this, what's my North Star? What's my higher purpose? Serendipitously, it seems, it came through an unexpected friendship that for me became extremely meaningful. And I've lived inside of that and been true to that and been delighted by that in terms of wherever it's taken me over this past more than 50 years. The other thing goes back to something that Stephen said, and it's also tied to a declaration that I made, which is have faith. Because I lived a lot of my life without that, and that had a lot of unintended consequences. And at a certain point in time, probably 15, 20 years ago, I made a decision and again a declaration to live my life differently and to include faith and an optimistic point of view in the mix. And that's been really cool.
Wow!
It's really opened up my world, in a number of different ways.
Listen, I've known you for many years. I've never heard this story until today, and I'm just really wowed by the story as the source of inspiration for who you are, who you are for yourself, and who you are for others. Stephen, any other questions?
No, I just love that story, and I love hearing where you are, John, and I know that when I practice my mediumship, and I do readings almost every day, probably 5 days, 6 days a week. And when I'm connecting with someone, there's so many times that and whether you believe in this or not, it's just there's so many times that I get and hear loved ones in spirit just talking about always grab on to those reins that make you understand that everything that happened leading up to, whether it's a diagnosis, whether it's a loss of a family member, whatever the case may be, that your life and your universe has been prepping you, and you've got everything it takes to get through this. It's just you have to be able to acknowledge that you've got everything it takes and use that. So it just seems hand in hand with what you're saying and where you are.
Very much, very, very much so, Stephen. I have said to others, that in the grand scheme of things, I couldn't be luckier to be in the midst of this right now, because I am the best version of myself right now.
Wow.
Medicine is as advanced as it's ever been right now. I mean, obviously, 3 years, 4 years down the road, it's going to be further advanced. But the point is, at this point in time, what doctors can bring in service of remediation and treatment and cure is extraordinary. And so how lucky to be in the midst of this. I find that gratitude and acceptance and generosity and kindness and compassion, including self-compassion, and curiosity are essential elements for supporting me on this journey. And they allow me to be. They allow me not to resist, not to fight this, which is, like, in my experience, a source of suffering, but to accept things for what they are. Not like I endorse it. It was never my preference to have cancer, but nobody asked me. But it is what it is, and now what do I want to do? What do I want to do with that? What is it? Is it the Serenity Prayer that talks about, like, being able to discern what we have control over and what we don't have control over, and put our attention where it matters and can make a difference, and let go of the rest. AKA, have faith, or at least that's my interpretation.
Yep.
Is like put your make a difference where you can make a difference, and so as somebody who is addicted to certainty, as I know a lot of people are, there's been a great deal that I've had to shift for myself in being with things as they've been unfolding. And what I'm really clear about, at least for myself, is that the certainty that I have now is that things are uncertain. Okay, I can live with that, and that however much I wanted to structure everything, again, to have that sense of certainty and control. There are a few things that I can structure, and there's a heck of a lot more that is going to emerge. And part of my job is to attune myself and to allow for and to embrace and enable that emergence. Like
Wow.
I can only see what I can see on the road.
Wow.
And around the bend, I can't see that yet. So I need to be patient and persistent, and compassionate for myself when I chafe at that. But those kinds of markers or guideposts I've found extraordinarily helpful in getting my head straight.
That's fabulous, John. And by the way, gratitude, generosity, compassion, curiosity are great values to live by under any circumstances. So that's really wonderful. John, we've reached the end of the show. I mean, the hour goes by very quickly. I'm fascinated listening to you. Stephen, I'm sure you just as fascinated meeting John. Thank you so much, John, for sharing your story, sharing your time, sharing your attention with us so generously. If our listeners want to connect with you, find more about you and your work, where can they do that?
Certainly go to the website, jblacoaching.com. That's the easiest.
Okay.
And if you want to send an email me at john@jblacoaching.com. Happy to share it. I think we've all got opportunities to source each other, and more that we can do to bring light and love. And so I so appreciate Elix and Stephen this opportunity to be with you and your listeners. Thank you for that.
Oh, you are very welcome.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Thank you for everything, and we will absolutely invite you back on the show. In fact, you have an open invitation, so anytime you want to come back, you're welcome to come back. So thank you for joining us, and we've reached the end of the show. Here we are, Stephen. How can people, or where can people find you?
Stephen the Medium.
Stephen the Medium.
That's simple.
That's simple. That's all you can do. Go
and remember, July 26th, head out to P-Town to be with me at another showing of Lady of the Dunes, where I premiere myself in this documentary.
Fabulous. And you can find me at Coach Elix anywhere on social media and here every Friday at 1 p.m. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, all of you, for listening today. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll be back next week with another wonderful show. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.